All right, everybody. I am so excited to have Miss Marla Merritt on the show with us today. And Marla, thank you for being a part of this. I have been very excited to do this interview with you. And I know that our audience is going to just get so many little pearls from you. And you're probably going to answer some questions for us that all of us may have had, especially as we know OrthoBanc merged with OrthoFi, and I know I'm talking to the right person to give us the scoop on this. So as we get started, one of the things I absolutely love to do is to have my guests just tell us a little bit about themselves and also your role and your new role now in OrthoFi.
Sure. I'm excited to be here, Jill. I've watched you on the stage, and I'm glad that you started this podcast. It's a great thing for the industry, and super excited about that and excited to be with you. So a little bit about me. I was one of the 3 original team members with OrthoBanc. That was in 2000 at OrthoBanc. And the 3 people that I started with were still there in 2020 when we sold to OrthoFi. When I think about my career, I had these 2 best friends that I got to do life and do business with for all of those years. And it was a great journey with OrthoBanc. As I mentioned, we started in 2000. When we first started, we were going to orthodontic practices that didn't even have the internet.
Yes. Oh, those years.
I'm dating myself, but we decided to build the OrthoBanc platform on the internet, and it was a website. And so that was different at the time. And so that was one of the obstacles we would run into. And then we also were one of the first companies to do electronic drafting of payments. That was new, and practices that we were met with, what if the consumer doesn't want that? What if the patient? So that was another obstacle. I think the thing that really helped our growth the most is around 2005, we formed integrations with some of the major practice management software systems, Dolphin and Ortho2 and TOPS, and Cloud9 came a little bit later, but mainly those 3 integrations where the payments would post. And that's when our business really saw
a game changer. Game changer for anybody who may have went through that.
Yeah, posting those payments for days. It really helped a lot. And that's when we saw our business grow. And the business continued to grow. We were on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies for 5 straight years in a row.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
And so then it was about 10 years ago. So around 2012, I believe, is when OrthoFi kind of came on the scene, really the first competition that OrthoBanc had. And we were fierce competitors for a few years there, and that we lost some customers to them. And that was devastating because we'd really never customers before then. And then in 2020, a couple of years ago, it actually we started the process of selling OrthoBanc right before COVID. And we had one meeting with OrthoFi before COVID, and then everything got shut down, and we sat on it for a little while. And then early 2020, the process was completed and became part of the OrthoFi team. And my role shifted a lot. So at OrthoBanc, I always managed the customer-facing team. So I ran training and support, sales, marketing, everything that was practice-facing was mine. And so when I joined with OrthoFi, they already had all those things in place. And so my new role is strategic partnerships. So I'm the VP of strategic partnerships. And that's proven to be it's been a great change for me. Change is tough after
I'm sure
doing the same thing. They do things a lot differently, and it's been a change. It's been 2 years of teaching an old dog new tricks, but it's been fun. I met a lot of new people, and I'm loving my new role with partnerships, because industry relationships.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I know it is always hard to maybe switch those gears from more client facing to business facing or whatnot. But like you said, change is hard, but it's good because it really pushes us into new areas and pushes us to be better, I think as well. So let's talk a little bit about the OrthoFi, OrthoBanc merge. And what did that mean for the companies? Because I think something that people may or may not know, maybe there's still some misconception out there about, are they different companies? Are they? So let's just start there. Let's talk about this pretty incredible merge of two really great companies.
Yeah. When I think about the merge, we thought it was going to be easier than it was, honestly. It's been a lot of trial and error. Big companies that had very different philosophies. The OrthoFi companies based in Denver and the OrthoBanc companies, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and the cultures were just really
Sure.
But we've come a long way in merging the cultures, and it's now just a really great culture. I think that the things that we had similar, the things in common, is that we were both really the only companies that approach revenue cycle management with people rather than automation.
Yes.
We have a lot of automation, but we also have a very full team. What you may not know about us now, we have over 375 employees.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very large company. And the reason we need all those people is we're managing a lot of payments, we're managing the insurance. And so I think that's the commonality that really brought us together, is that we have the same philosophy that you can't always manage everything through automation. You've got to have people, and you've got to have strong people who are customer focused. So that's what we brought together. And so the difference is OrthoFi was really focused on data. And that was, if I were to say how they ran their businesses, it's all about data. OrthoBanc was not all about data. We were all about customer. And so, not that OrthoFi was not about customer. We had two kind of different
strategies. Yeah.
Always been data, was customer service. So we always say stronger together. And I truly believe that. We brought the best of the best in data and the best of the best in customer experience. And so that's how we became stronger together. And I was a little nervous. Were they going to keep the OrthoBanc product brands? And they absolutely did. So we're still offering the OrthoBanc solution standalone, as well as the full OrthoFi solution.
Yeah, that's great. And love that you guys were able to take these two really strong companies and merge them together and really be able to come out, I think, even stronger and even a bigger force within our industry, and really meeting the needs of what offices are looking for. And you guys proved over time that we were able to bring new technology into our industry. I've been in this a long time as well. And gosh, the thought of moving away from a payment booklet and the coupon booklets, and then, oh my gosh, people are going to actually pay us automatically every month and we don't have to go chase down money, was such a concept at the time. And now it is what it is. Like, we couldn't go anywhere nowadays and join a membership anywhere without it being an automatic. So I love, again, what your company and the companies were able to do within our industry to just continue to keep us right where we need to be. So in thinking about that, I know that there's a lot of, I'm going to use this word again, misconception, maybe about what does the company do now? And I was able to attend one of the OrthoFi consultant meetings this summer, and it was really informative to me as a consultant, because I think it's hard to keep up with exactly all of the pieces of every company. And so I'd really love it if you wouldn't mind maybe talking a little bit about the stronger together, but what are your core pieces that our listeners may want to know in thinking about how OrthoBanc might be able to fit into their practices?
Yeah. So I'll start with OrthoFi because it's the bigger solution. And when I think about OrthoFi, the best way for me to think about it is there's 3 buckets of what we cover. One is patient acquisition. And so it starts with when you think about a practice being able to outsource, we take care of the new patient forms. So we automate those forms for them. We're going to do the follow-up to make sure that we get those forms, because it's important that we have those forms in advance, because we also do insurance verification. That's a huge piece of what OrthoFi does, is getting that insurance verified when the patient comes in. That process. And then when they're in the practice, we have the slider, which that's really what OrthoFi first became known for, was the slider.
Yep.
So that slider, to make it easier to have options, payment options that are, the open choice. Firm believer that you need to meet the patient with what they can afford.
So agree.
So our slider has some intelligent flexibility built into it that I'd love to talk to anybody. That's a different conversation, but it's not just a slider. There's some real data and intelligence built into it. It's a slider. If you can get the same day start, which the slider does help to do that, then you can move them on through electronic signatures of the forms that the practice needs to start that. Then we have the pending patient management. So we're sending auto reminders about pending treatment. So all of that automation and the process that it takes to get that start, that's bucket one. Once we get the start, then bucket two is revenue cycle management. And so the full revenue cycle management, including insurance and patient payments.
Yeah, and I think that's the key right there. It's not just one side or the other. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in, but I think that's huge for practices.
Right. It just so much of being able to outsource all of those tasks. And so we take over the insurance and the patient. And that means we're also filing claims and collecting the dollars and following up when we're not getting payment. So that's bucket two, is that just full revenue cycle management. Bucket three, I think, is what people don't really understand, but to me is where the value in OrthoFi is. And that is just our data. There's a dashboard that practices can view to see how they're doing. What's their insurance delinquency? What's their patient delinquency? What's their same day starts averages? Is there a TC that's really performing very well? And then let's figure out what that person's doing right and make sure that all our TCs are doing that. That data's there. But then on top of that, we assign an ortho success manager to each practice. And as part of their service with OrthoFi, they get a monthly call with that ortho success manager to review the data. And we train the ortho success managers to look for where's their problem, where do they need to focus to improve their metrics. And so that third bucket is just really the support and the data that helps a practice grow and thrive. So that's OrthoFi, the three buckets, and it's as you can tell, a very full solution.
Yeah.
OrthoBanc is just really just that one bucket of revenue cycle management, and it's even just the patient portion. So we've just carved out, we manage patient payments. And when you think about a practice that's trying to manage those themselves, just outsourcing even that small piece and free up so much time for the financial coordinator, office manager. Those are typically some of your highest performing team members, the financial coordinator, the office manager, whoever's managing those payments. If you can free them up to do other things in the practice, you've got a very strong team member that's doing. Maybe they need to be a part-time TC, or maybe they can help with the marketing, but it really frees that person's time up to do more.
Yeah, that's great. And as I have watched OrthoFi evolve, as I've seen OrthoBanc in the industry and saw what you guys were able to do in really helping change the way we think about patient payments and all of that. I think it was a perfect marriage for sure to have the two companies come together. And one of the things that I would tell docs and office managers, anybody who's listening, and I know you and I have talked about this too, is it isn't just enough to be like, okay, this takes the place of an employee and we just now sign on for the system and we never have to think about it again. And what I really appreciate that you guys have done is bringing on those managers that offices can now have contact with that are actually paying attention to their practices. And with any company, there's an evolution of seeing a need and then moving to be better. And I love that you guys have been able to do that, recognize that need, because as a consultant, I always felt we need a little bit more help with our offices, and our offices can't just be hands off, I paid the bill. I don't think about it anymore. Like it takes a partnership between your company and the office. And so there is a component there. And I know you can talk to that a little bit more, but I really love that you pointed that out because it is such an important piece, I think, to the success of making an outsourced, if you want to look at it that way, or work well.
And I like that you brought up the consultant piece as well. It's like they have a consultant with our OSM, but many practices also work with a consultant. That's what I've seen my role growing into my role is really making sure that the consultants in the industry, if a practice is working with a consultant, that consultant may do things a little differently than want the practice to do things a little differently than what we would typically talk to that practice about. So I love that we could even work with a consultant. So if a practice is working with a consultant, we need to know that. And we need to touch base with that consultant occasionally and say, what can we help the practice with and all of us partner together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's great. So let's talk a little bit about misconceptions in the industry and maybe what I may hear, what you may hear, what docs out there may be thinking. Can you touch on that for us a little bit?
Yes. As I mentioned, I was a competitor of OrthoFi for several years. And I would love it when there was a misconception. And I capitalize on that. But now that I'm really under the hood of OrthoFi, I've learned a lot about the solution that really the industry doesn't. I think that there's a big misconception about several things with OrthoFi. First of all, the pricing. Everyone says, oh, it's just so expensive. That I think, and that when I look at what you get for what you're paying OrthoFi, there's a SaaS fee for the patient acquisition software. So you pay a monthly fee for the software. And then to manage the payments, you've got to think that we're taking over both insurance and patient. Yep. And truthfully, it comes up to, if you're in that 400 to 500 patients a year range, it comes up to about $130 per patient. When you think about all that you're outsourcing for that amount of money that your team would have to be responsible for. So I think that's misconception number one is need to take a look again at the pricing and compare to what they're able to offload from their practice. The other thing is there have been some bad blood, some bad comments on social media about the management of insurance. And our CEO, Dave, he always says, I talked to them about this yesterday, actually. When we started looking at insurance, we were working with just a few practices. Most of them were out of network. So it seemed like it was going to be easy. And he always says this ended up being our best, worst mistake because it was hard, really hard. Yes. It's such a need in the industry. And so we knew if we could get it right, that it was going to be something that could be game changing for practices that we serve. And so what we found has happened is at the macro level, our insurance performance is 67% better than the industry average. We're doing a really good job at the macro level. But what happens is there could be at the micro level, the patient level, things might get missed because a practice would be much more focused on every single patient where we're serving so many patients. So that's where the comment from
for sure.
Patient. And then they're like, oh, they missed this patient. So we knew that's no excuse. We have to fix the micro issues. And so we have spent the last 12 months focusing on how to fix those. And we've made some huge changes. There's about 3 different initiatives that are game changing. And I spoke to a practice. One of them, it's called ConBen, Confirmation of Benefits. And it's a whole new way that we're better confirming the benefits to make sure that we're getting accurate information. And we've gotten responses from practices already that are just like, this
great.
Game changing. So we're committed to that. The misconception that we're not committed to doing a great job for insurance, we really are. And proof is that we've spent the last 12 months that we put a lot of development on hold to make sure that we fix this and a lot better. Very excited about that. Another misconception is that we automate everything and they don't realize the people. Yes, there's some automation, but anything that has any exceptions is thrown to a live person on our team, and we're working that. So I would say that's probably the common misconceptions.
Yeah.
And so
That's great. And I love, thank you for pointing those out, because as a consultant, I've heard those. I've had practices that have had some of those issues in the past. And I think it's just good to put it out there on the table. And I think what a better way to show that your company really cares about that, in the sense that you saw an issue, you heard from your customers, and then chose to fix it. And I always think about that book Traction, in sometimes we have to go backwards and fix our processes in order to go forward. And I love that's what you guys did, is you saw that we've got some things we need to take care of and did that. And I will just attest, number one, I've been to the Denver location. I've seen all the employees there. It is not a bunch of robots walking around there, but also anybody who's done ortho and anybody who's done billing knows, oh my gosh, there is not a harder thing to do, I think, in our industry than to manage patient financials to a point, but really the ortho component, the ortho insurance component there is no black and white out there with insurance. And just when you think we got it dialed in, nope. So that's great. Yeah. So in thinking about that and knowing that you guys took this time to maybe stop some development just to make sure that you were hitting the marks that you wanted to as a company, did you come up with some new products that you have decided to, now that you're past that and now in the moving forward again, anything new launching or coming out that we need to know about?
So funny you should ask, Jill. We really have some exciting new things on the horizon that I'm really excited about. When OrthoFi purchased OrthoBanc, I mentioned some of the differences in our company. OrthoBanc was what we call modularized. So we had the OrthoBanc patient payment management. We had Acceptex Pro, which is patient acquisition. We have Breeze, which is single payments. So we have these multiple products that a practice could pick and choose, where OrthoFi was full solution. You got patient acquisition all the way to the data, all three buckets, and there was no separation. The Acceptex Pro it's a good product, but it doesn't have the data, the reporting that is the signature of OrthoFi. Sure. So we've been working on a patient acquisition solution. It's currently in beta. I think by we'll be fully.
Ooh, we got a teaser.
It's going to be called Yes!
Oh, cool.
And so it's going to take the place of Acceptex Pro, but it's nothing like Acceptex Pro. So that's the teaser. So that's number one. We're also still committed to IMAX, Tina Burns IMAX. And that is unfortunately a product that kind of took a back seat while we were fixing some of the insurance problems. And we expect to jump back on that really soon. We think that's a solution that the industry really needs as well. So you'll be hearing more about that.
Yeah.
We also purchased a dental company, and we're building a solution that is patient acquisition for high dollar dental procedures. And it's also going to include a multi-lender platform. So practices won't just have one single option. Patients won't have one single option for financing. That solution is also built, and it's actually in alpha testing right now. So we have 6 practices using that. Very busy.
That is exciting. I cannot wait. Always fun when we're able to get out there and see the new products. So I can't wait to learn more about all of that. That's going to be a fun time. I know you guys are always bringing new things in and really working to, just as a whole, make it better for offices if they are choosing to outsource this role in their practice. I'm all about, if we can get it working all together, it's just working smarter, not harder. That's really what it comes down to. So let's talk a little bit about, because I was leading into this, but what I see you guys being able to do is really bridge that gap in helping offices maybe bridge that gap, like I was just saying, with employment. And I think what I am seeing more and more as we are moving forward in our industry, and this is something that I'm predicting as a consultant, is we are really going to get to a point in our, I'll say, ortho offices 2.0, where we have very specific core employees in our practices. And I really believe gone are the times where we just have this overabundance of employees in our practices. And I feel like we're really going to have core employees that are doing core things. And there is going to be this component of an outsourced, or I've coined a plastic employee before, but really where we're shifting our mindset a little bit and thinking about, do I need a physical body in my practice, or do I need some oversight of what used to be a physical body with an outsourced company? And so I'm just wondering how you guys view that, and if you also agree that you are starting to, and again, it's not this, I hire this service and I don't think about it again, but let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So OrthoFi is definitely like having another team member or two or 370. So it is an outsourced solution, but I always tell practices it's not a set it and forget it. So you do still need someone managing the OrthoFi relationship. We like to think about it as if you have a financial coordinator that 100% of her time is focused on patient and insurance payment management, that person's time, she'll spend about 20% of her time on OrthoFi. So we're not going to take the place of an employee, but we will sure reduce their load so that they can do other things. And I mentioned earlier in this podcast that that's typically a very strong player on the team.
Yeah.
So if you can free them up to do patient-facing, high-value tasks rather than the monotony of, we find that, gosh, I wish I'd have looked at the slide before we jumped on this call, but we've got a slide that says insurance billing makes up only, it's around 18-20% of the practice's total billing. Don't quote me on that number, but it's 60% of the work.
I believe that. And I'll tell you, if you want to send that slide in, we can add that to the podcast too, because that may be something that listeners want to actually see with their eyes as well.
Yeah, it's a great slide. So I will get that over to you. But just the fact that you've got a team member who's spending all that time on something that, is a small portion of your revenue, but you think about how much time, and they're also just sitting there on hold to do insurance verification. So let's get that off of the practice team and let us handle that. So let's start with OrthoBanc. That piece, just shifting the patient payment management. Okay, there's one level of outsourcing. With OrthoFi, you're also getting rid of the insurance, but there's also this piece with the patient acquisition that practices are often trying to piece together, like, what are we going to do for the new patient forms? Maybe they have a link on their website, or however they're doing it. Maybe they haven't automated that. You've got a new team member in, and now they have to learn what's all of our pricing, what treatment do we offer. They have to learn so many pieces. If you're set up with OrthoFi, all that's in the system. So they really need to learn the OrthoFi system, and then the pricing, what treatments offered, all of that's just it's already there. So it's like knowledge transfer because the practice is set up and ready to go in OrthoFi if they have a new team member.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. As we wrap it up here, I think you've just given us so many good things to think about. And I'm sure there's a lot of docs like, oh, this makes so much more sense now. I understand that those misconceptions are no longer, but is there anything you think we need to know about that we haven't covered, that if you were sitting in the audience, you would be like, oh, but I wanted Marla to tell me this?
I think I just want to go back to the misconceptions, and OrthoFi is now a 10-year-old product. And so I think I would tell a practice, if you looked at OrthoFi 5 years ago, 4 years ago, even before the pandemic, before staffing concerns, before the economy, everything that's going on right now, if you haven't looked at OrthoFi recently, just set up a demo and really do a deep dive again, because I think that that you'll find the misconceptions are, let's set that right. And
Yeah.
then there's also other solutions. So if you see the OrthoFi demo and say, you know what, I don't need that full solution, but I do want to outsource my patient payments. The reps now we call it selling the bag. They have the entire suite of solutions that they can talk to you about. So just reach out and we'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah, perfect. If somebody wants to find out more about OrthoFi, OrthoBanc, what's the best way to find you guys, to get a hold of you?
At orthofi.com, you can request a demo. I would also love to hear from people. So if you want to email me, and then I'll put you up with the correct rep, marla.merritt@orthofi.com, and I can set you up with the rep for your territory. And that's probably the best way.
Yeah, perfect. All righty. And I'm assuming social pages out there, if somebody wanted to follow what you guys have got going on, find out when there's conferences, this, that, or the other, probably any of the social sites.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a pretty strong webinar program. We are setting up for a big year of some webinars that really help practices. We call it the winds of change: the economy, the staffing capacity issues, competition, and consolidation. So we think those 4 winds of change that are stirring in our industry, practices need to be able to get ahead of those and really make some changes in their practice. And so our webinar series for 2023 is going to hit on how to be prepared for those wins.
Yeah, that's great. And I would say, just another, for the audience out there, just another great resource for you, like the podcast and some of the other things. I think we are all just really working hard to get good information in front of you. And I love the webinar series. So, well, thanks, Marla, so much for doing this. And if you don't know already, I like to finish up all my podcasts with a little speed round. So are you ready to participate in the speed round?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Coffee or tea?
Sweet tea. I'm from the South.
Ooh, sweet tea. All right. How about, do you have a favorite book?
I would say the Bible.
Okay. What's your favorite outdoor activity?
So my family loves to play volleyball outside. We're fiercely competitive. I have a huge family. So I would say outdoor volleyball with my family if I win.
Nice. If I win. I love that. And then if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
So I really want that when people talk to me, that they feel heard and special. And I feel that we're all uniquely and wonderfully made, and everybody has their own gifts that they bring to the table. And so I would want to be remembered for noticing people being special and unique.
Yeah, oh, I love that. And then one final question. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
So I have 2 pieces of advice, and they're what I've lived my life by. All things are cumulative, and how you do anything is how you do everything. So I'm just a firm believer that if it's worth doing, it's worth doing.
Yeah.
And 2 phrases, I think, really sum that up.
That's wonderful. Great, good piece of advice for sure. And again, just thank you so much for being a part of Hey Docs. I know the audience is going to get a lot out of this episode.
So fun to talk to you, Jill. Thank you for inviting me.
Next time. See you next time.
Okay.